And we have about 20 regular members, but when I teach twice a month, and when I teach, we have about 500 to 600 visitors. So I want to invite all of you to come to visit us, but don't come at one time. We fill up our church in the morning about 7 o'clock, and I get there about 10 and teach. And we have a very good African-American pastor now, named Tony Loudon. He was going to come and participate with his bill, but his wife got sick in the last minute. He had to stay there with his little 18-month-old daughter. So Tony sends his regrets that he can't be with us. Well, what I generally do is to cover the particular lesson that's assigned to us in a Baptist journal, and I try to wind up by giving the people there some basic advice, and that's what I'm going to do for you this morning. How many of you know who James is? If you know something about James, raise your hand way up. What do you know about James?
Brother of Jesus.
Okay, he's a half-brother of Jesus, right? He said brother of Jesus. He's actually a half-brother. They had the same mother, but not the same father, right? What else do we know about James? James is I love the book of James. What else do we know about James? After Jesus was executed on the cross and was resurrected, what happened? What did James do? James was the head of a Christian church in Jerusalem, and he kind of held the church together. He was also very bold, being the half-brother of Jesus. He thought he could do what he wanted to, so he would even argue with Paul's writings. As you know, all of Paul's letters were written about 20 years before Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were written. So James spoke up very much. As you know, Paul said that faith is adequate. And what did James say? Faith without works is what? Dead. And James gave us some very good advice. We studied James for about a month last year. And one of the things that James taught that I remember very well, James said, if we don't have a clear purpose in life, or if our life is not filled with joy and peace and thanksgiving, it's our own fault. So it's all of your fault if you don't have a full and happy and peaceful life. That's the first thing I want you to remember. Secondly, I want to remind you that we get from our Creator, God, I would say at least three things. We get life. How many of you decided when you were going to be born? How many decided who your parents would be? How many of you decided what kind of talents or native ability you would have? See, we get all those things from God, and sometimes we forget that we do. But God gives us one other thing, and that is freedom. So we have freedom to take advantage of all the great blessings that God gives us, everyone. And we also have the blessing, not only of freedom, which cuts both ways, we can even have the freedom to reject God completely if we want to. Or we can take full advantage of our relationship with our Creator. How do we do that? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every week in the year. How do we take advantage of that direct access to God? Pray. We can pray. Every one of us, if we have a difficult question we can't answer, or we made a bad mistake and we are really remorseful about it and want to change our ways, or we have a challenge that we can't overcome, or we have a sorrow we can't bear, all we have to do is to just pray a little bit. We could be driving along in our car and we don't even have to close our eyes to pray. Or we might be alone in our home or in the woods or somewhere. But all during our life, whenever we have a difficult moment, we can pray to God. And God is like a father, of course, but I would say God is kind of like a senior political partner or business partner who has our best interests at heart, right? God loves every one of us. So God has our best interests at heart, And God knows everything and can do everything. Do you disagree with that, anybody? If you do, leave. So we have direct access to our Creator who loves us, who forgives us, who has grace on us, and who can do anything, and who knows everything. Isn't that a wonderful access to have if we want to have an answer to a question or overcome a difficulty? Well, that means that with our freedom, every one of us can make a basic decision. And every one of us has made that basic decision all during our lives. And that is to answer the question, what kind of person do I, myself, choose to be? And that's not something that your parents can decide. It's not something your wife or husband can decide. It's not something your children can decide. It's not something that Sunday school teachers or pastors can decide. That's a decision only you can decide. What kind of person, so far in my life, have I chosen to be? You can decide whether you want to be generous or stingy. You can decide whether you want to be a liar, when it's your benefit, to your benefit, or always tell the truth. You can decide to reach out and help other people, or be stingy and take care only of yourself, right? So every one of you, every day of your life, answers that basic question. This is the kind of person that I have chosen to be. And if you're at any time in your life, like you're right now, if you're not satisfied with the way you are, the kind of person you have become, you can change. You can ask God's help. And if you want to know how you should become, if I gave you a pencil and paper, and if you weren't in a religious service like you are now, and I ask you to write down what are the measures of success, because God gives us another very wonderful blessing, and that is that every person born, regardless of your IQ, regardless of your own handicaps, regardless of your education, regardless of the income of your family, every one of you can be a complete success in the eyes of God. Every one of you can be a complete success in the eyes of God. Okay, now, I guess if I gave you a tablet, as I started to say a while ago, and you wrote down the measures of success, what would be the first thing you would think about? Money, right? Enough income so you can take care of your own needs, and you can take care of your children's needs, and maybe your grandchildren's needs, and have an adequate, I'd say, successful retirement. You're going to live in a nice neighborhood, like a Habitat neighborhood. You want to maybe have friends that were loyal to you during your lifetime. You'd want to be a success measured by the society around you. And you probably want to live a ripe old age, to a ripe old age like 95, right? Okay, of all those things I just mentioned, how many did Jesus have? How many? None. He didn't have any money. He didn't have any friends that stayed loyal to him in the rest of his life. Even his own disciples abandoned him during his time of trial. And so far as we know, he died when he was younger than most of you, 33 years old. But Jesus lived a perfect life because he followed the will of God. So what do we need to do to have a successful life in the eyes of God? It's very simple. We just follow in the steps of Jesus Christ. Now, are those wonderful gifts that we get from God? Is there anything else that you would want to get besides complete freedom and life itself and a guarantee that you can be a success in life and have direct access to your Creator who knows everything and can do everything? And if we're doubtful ever about how we want to live, we have the perfect example of Jesus Christ as our guide. Isn't that great? Does anybody want any more than that? Are you satisfied with it? Are you satisfied with the way your life is so far? If not, you can change today and begin communicating directly with God Almighty, the Creator, who gave you life, and you have a perfect example to live like Jesus Christ. That's why I'm a Christian, because I believe those things. I hope that as many of you as possible believe them too. If not, that's a decision that you make. And if you're not the kind of person that you would like to be so far, you can change from now on. Thank you very much.